I found out my husband has another family, a whole other wife, another set of kids, another entire life I knew nothing about. I don't even know who I married. My husband's work wife isn't just a friend, she's his real wife. Hi Reddit. I don't even know how to start this. I feel like my entire life has been a lie. I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Lena, 34F, and until 2 weeks ago, I thought I was happily married to my husband, Daniel, 38M, for the past 10 years. We have 2 kids together, Noah, 8M, and Lily, 5F. We live in Austin, Texas, where we built what I thought was a beautiful life. I say thought because as of February 24th, 2024, I found out my husband has another family, a whole other wife, another set of kids, another entire life I knew nothing about. I don't even know who I married. The suspicion starts. I always knew Daniel had a close friendship with his coworker, Melanie, 35F. I mean, he called her his work wife, but I never thought much of it. I trusted him. I was never the jealous type. I believed that in a healthy marriage, you don't go through your partner's phone, you don't check up on them, you don't assume the worst. So when Daniel would talk about Melanie, how funny she was, how they got each other, how she made the workday tolerable, I didn't overthink it. I should have. Looking back, there were signs. The weekend business trips that kept getting more frequent. The late night calls that he'd take in the other room. The way he suddenly started working late every single Friday. But the biggest red flag, the moment that made my gut twist in a way I couldn't ignore, our kids got sick. Noah had the flu, and Lily was throwing up every 2 hours. It was one of those miserable, exhausting nights where everything smelled like Pedialyte and regret. I called Daniel, practically begging him to come home early from work because I was drowning. And you know what he said? I really wish I could, babe, but Melanie's going through a rough time right now and she needs me. I promised I'd be there for her. My sick children needed him, and he chose Melanie. That was the moment I knew. The discovery. I started paying attention after that. I didn't tell him, I just observed. He never posted about me or the kids on social media, but he liked and commented on everything Melanie posted. They had inside jokes I wasn't part of. I noticed he was suddenly dressing better, wearing cologne to work, styling his hair differently. So I did what I swore I'd never do. I went through his phone. I still wish I hadn't, because what I found shattered me. Daniel had a second house, a second wife, a second set of kids. Her name is Melanie Garcia, and she lives in San Antonio. He married her 6 years ago. They have a 3-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son. I found wedding photos. I found texts where they talked about their life together. And the worst part? She had no idea about me either. I wasn't thinking straight when I drove to his office that day. I was shaking, barely breathing, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly I thought I might snap it in half. I stormed into the lobby, right past the receptionist, and straight into his office. Daniel looked up, completely caught off guard. His face turned pale, like he saw a ghost. Lena, what are you doing here? I threw his phone on his desk. You tell me, husband. I saw the exact moment he realized. His eyes darted to the screen, then back to me. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. He knew he was caught. What the hell is this? My voice was shaking, but I didn't care. Who the f*** is Melanie to you? He stammered. Lena, I can explain. Are you married to her? Yes or no? Silence. I laughed. I actually laughed, because the alternative was collapsing right there on the floor. You have a whole other wife? A whole other family? I whispered. And you thought you'd just, what? Juggle us forever? He ran a hand over his face. I never wanted to hurt you. Shut up. I was done listening. Done letting him take up space in my head. And then, just for good measure, I looked him straight in the eye and said, I told her. His face drained of blood. You? What? I called Melanie. I sent her the photos. She knows everything. And then I walked out, where I am now. It's been 2 weeks. 2 weeks of unraveling my entire life. Melanie and I met up. She's devastated. She truly thought he was her only husband. We talked for hours, just 2 women trying to process the fact that we married a complete stranger. She's filing for divorce, and so am I. My kids? They're confused, but I'm protecting them from the worst of it. I refuse to let them think this is normal. Daniel, on the other hand, he's lost everything. He tried calling, tried begging. Lena, please, I made a mistake. I can fix this. Don't do this. I love you. I love our family. But the thing is, he never loved us enough to stay faithful. So I blocked his number, got myself a damn good lawyer, and started rebuilding my life. Final thoughts. Thank you, Reddit. To everyone who's read this far, to everyone who might have gone through something similar, trust your gut. I ignored mine for years, and I wish I hadn't. People say you never really know someone, and I used to think that was an exaggeration. But now I know that monsters wear wedding rings. AITAH, cheaters never change, double life, divorce, trust your gut. Update. My husband's work wife isn't just a friend, she's his real wife. Hey Reddit, it's been a month since I first posted, and my life has been a roller coaster of emotions. I wanted to come back and give you all an update because the support and the wild responses I got were insane. First of all, thank you. Seriously, some of you made me laugh when I felt like I was drowning, and some of you made me feel seen when I was questioning everything. I spent hours reading the comments, and I noticed some recurring questions. So let's get into it. 1. How is it possible that for 6 years you never noticed a thing? How did he manage to hide a whole wife and kids from you? I get why people are asking this. Hell, I ask myself the same thing. I feel like a fool, but looking back, I can see how he pulled it off. For one, we didn't live in the same city. We're in Austin, Texas, and Melanie, the other wife, was in San Antonio. That's about a 90-minute drive. Close enough to see each other, but far enough that our paths never crossed. His excuse? Work. Daniel was in corporate sales. Travel was part of his job, and he had a flexible schedule. It wasn't weird for him to be gone on business trips for a few days at a time. I was so used to it, I never questioned it. And when he was home, he played the perfect husband. But there were cracks. The random weekends where he'd leave last minute, the phone calls he took in another room. I just never thought to connect the dots. 2. Did you and Melanie ever meet in person before you found out about each other? Oh my God, this question haunts me because yes, we did. Once. About 4 years ago, Daniel invited me to his company's holiday party. I had never been before because it was always just employees. But that year, he suddenly insisted I come. I remember being so excited. I went shopping, got my nails done, did my hair. I wanted to look amazing for my husband. And then at the party, I met Melanie. I remember her. She was beautiful, confident, the life of the party. I assumed she was one of those outgoing coworkers who was just friendly with everyone. We only spoke briefly. She smiled at me and said, "It's so nice to finally meet you. I've heard so much about you." And now, thinking back, I realize she must have thought I was the other woman. I want to throw up every time I replay that conversation in my head. She was probably just as confused as I was. 3. Now that you've divorced him, how are you fending for your kids? Who got the house? Where is he staying now? I won't lie. Divorce is hell. Even when you know you're doing the right thing, it still feels like walking through fire. Luckily, I got a great lawyer. Daniel tried to play the whole "I made a mistake, please don't take my kids from me" card, but I wasn't budging. I got the house. The kids stay with me full time. He gets supervised visitation on weekends because, let's be real, I don't trust him at all. He's staying at a crappy apartment now, and from what I've heard, he's miserable. I won't pretend like it's been easy. Being a single mom is exhausting. There are days when I sit in my car, stare at the steering wheel, and just cry, but at least now, I'm not living in a lie. And Melanie? She left him too. She got full custody of her kids, and she's moving out of state to be near her family. We still talk sometimes, just two women picking up the pieces of a shared nightmare. 4. Are you happy now? Happiness is complicated. I'm healing. There are nights when I still wake up in a panic, wondering how I missed all of it. But then there are moments, small, beautiful moments, that remind me I did the right thing. Like when Noah hugs me tight and says, "Mom, you're the best." Like when Lily falls asleep on my chest, her tiny hand curled around my shirt. Like when I look in the mirror and realize I'm not carrying the weight of his betrayal anymore. So, am I happy? Not yet, but I will be. And Daniel, he lost everything, and I don't feel bad for him at all. AITAH, cheaters never change, divorced and thriving, single mom life, trust your gut.
My husband said he was at work. He wasn't. Day 1. The lie. I never considered myself the jealous type. I wasn't the kind of wife who pried through text messages or second-guessed every late-night meeting. I believed in trust, in privacy, in giving a person space. But that night, as I lay alone in bed, staring at the ceiling, something gnawed at me. It was subtle at first, like an itch just beneath my skin. A restless energy I couldn't shake. The house was quiet, the digital clock on the nightstand blinking 42 a.m., casting soft red glows across the room. He had texted earlier, saying work was running late, some last-minute crisis at the firm. Nothing unusual. And yet, something felt wrong. I turned over, staring at his side of the bed. The sheets were cold, untouched. That whisper of unease grew louder. Check his location. I almost didn't do it. It felt ridiculous. Childish, even. But my hands moved on their own, reaching for my phone, unlocking the screen with a swipe. My breath caught in my throat as I opened the tracking app. He wasn't at work. My heart skipped. The little red dot, the one that should have been in the heart of the city where his office was somewhere else. A town. A small town. 2 hours away. I frowned, tapping on the name. Willow Ridge. I had never heard of it. My stomach twisted into a knot so tight it hurt. I sat up, gripping the phone with both hands, my pulse thrumming beneath my fingertips. There had to be a reasonable explanation. A work trip. A meeting. But deep down, I already knew. I just didn't know how bad it was going to be. Day 2. The drive. I barely slept. By the time the sun crawled over the horizon, painting the bedroom in soft morning light, I had already made up my mind. I wasn't going to ask him. I was going to follow him. I kissed him goodbye like any other morning, smiling as he told me he'd be working late again. I watched him pull out of the driveway, my hands clenched into fists. Then I waited. 10 minutes. Exactly 10 minutes. Just long enough for him to believe I was going about my day, none the wiser. Then I grabbed my keys and got in the car. The drive felt endless. Every mile stretched longer than the last. The further I went, the less familiar everything became. The city skyline faded behind me, replaced by long stretches of road, quiet farmlands, and dense patches of trees. I gripped the wheel tighter, my knuckles turning white. He had to have an explanation. He had to. But when I finally turned onto the street, my breath caught in my throat. It was quiet, peaceful. A picturesque suburban neighborhood straight out of a magazine. Neatly trimmed lawns, white picket fences, the faint sound of children's laughter ringing through the air. And then, I saw him. I slammed my foot on the brake, barely registering the honk of an irritated driver behind me. He was there. Not just there. Smiling, laughing, carrying a bag of groceries up a driveway like he belonged there. Then, before I could even process what I was looking at, she stepped into view. A woman. She was beautiful in a simple, effortless way. Dark hair pulled into a ponytail, a soft sundress flowing as she moved toward him. And then she kissed him. Not a quick peck, not a friendly touch, a lingering kiss, a kiss between a man and his wife. I felt my stomach drop. My hands started to shake as I watched them walk inside together, side by side like they had done it 1,000 times before. And suddenly I understood. This wasn't an affair. This wasn't some meaningless fling. This was a life. A life he had built without me. Day 3. The confrontation. I didn't sleep. I barely moved. The hours stretched endlessly as I lay in my motel bed, staring at the stained ceiling, listening to the muffled sounds of the highway outside. My mind raced in frantic circles, replaying what I had seen over and over again, searching for some other explanation, any explanation that made sense. There wasn't one. Morning came too soon. The sky was still a soft, dusky pink when I finally forced myself into the car and drove back to the house. My body was running on pure adrenaline. my hands trembling as I gripped the steering wheel. I had no plan, no strategy. I just knew I had to face him. I had to see him. By the time I stepped onto the porch, my pulse was hammering so hard I thought I might collapse. I raised my fist and knocked. The door swung open, and there she was. Up close, she was even more stunning than I had realized. Not in a threatening, model-perfect way, just effortlessly beautiful, with deep brown eyes, soft features, and the kind of warmth that made a person feel instantly safe. She looked like the kind of woman who made homemade soup on rainy days and sent thank you cards just because. She looked like a wife. "Can I help you?" she asked, tucking a stray piece of hair behind her ear. Her voice was gentle. She had no idea. I swallowed the lump in my throat, trying to remember how to breathe. Say something. Say anything. I'm looking for my husband. I finally managed, though my voice barely came out. She frowned, tilting her head slightly. "I'm sorry, I think you have the wrong house." And then, he stepped out from behind her. The world stopped. The moment his eyes met mine, I saw it. Recognition, panic, guilt. He knew exactly who I was, and yet his hand was resting casually on her waist, like it belonged there. Before I could speak, the woman turned to him, completely unaware of the storm raging inside me. "Baby, who is this?" Baby. My stomach twisted violently. My nails dug into my palms so hard I thought they might draw blood. I turned to her, the words clawing their way up my throat. My voice was barely a whisper. "This is my husband." Silence. The world seemed to hold its breath. She let out a short, breathless laugh, the kind you give when someone tells a joke you don't quite understand. Then she turned back to him, waiting, expecting him to deny it. But he didn't. His face, God, his face! He didn't look shocked. He didn't look confused. He looked caught. The air shifted. Her shoulders tense, the warmth draining from her eyes as she studied him, searching for something, anything, to tell her that I was lying. He said nothing. Her breath hitched. She took a slow, shaky step away from him, like she was seeing him for the first time. What is she talking about? But I already knew. I saw it in her eyes, the way the pieces were clicking into place. She wasn't his mistress, she was his wife. Day 4. The unraveling. The story didn't come out cleanly. It was jagged and broken, torn from the mouth of a man who was suddenly out of lies. 15 years. That's how long he had been married to her. A decade and a half of anniversaries, birthday parties, and lazy Sunday mornings. A life built on vows he had never truly meant. They had a son, a 14-year-old boy who looked just like him. A house filled with photos of their perfect family. A dog, neighbors who adored him. My stomach twisted violently. 15 years. That meant I wasn't the first wife. The words slipped out of my mouth like poison, my voice shaking. His wife, his real wife, stared at me, lips parted, eyes hollow. "No," she whispered. My throat felt tight like a rope was being pulled around it, squeezing the air from my lungs. I wasn't his first wife, I was his second, and she wasn't the other woman. I was. The air between us felt too thick, too heavy to breathe. I wanted to scream, to break something, to wrap my hands around his throat and demand to know how he could look me in the eye every day and still kiss me goodbye like I was his one and only. But I couldn't, because the pain wasn't sharp. It was deep. It was raw. I had been living a lie. And then just when I thought it couldn't get worse, she turned to me. Her hands were shaking, her voice barely a whisper. "I think there's another one." Day 5. The truth is a monster. The moment she said it, something inside me cracked. We didn't speak. We just moved. We tore through his things like desperate, starving animals searching for scraps of truth. Bank statements, different addresses, hidden accounts, fake names. And then we found her. The third wife. A woman who had been married to him for 8 years. She had twin daughters. She thought he was on work trips when in reality he was here with us. She had no idea she was just another chapter in his twisted story. He didn't have a double life. He had a triple life. But that wasn't the worst part. No, the worst part came when his first wife, his real wife, went to his closet, pulled down an old shoebox tucked away on the highest shelf, and opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, beneath layers of dust and secrets, was a lockbox. She picked the lock with a bobby pin, her breath hitching as the lid popped open. We leaned in, and the world shifted. Old driver's licenses, fake IDs, different names, different faces. but all him, and beneath them, newspaper clippings. Missing women. Women who had once been married to him. Women who had vanished. I felt the blood drain from my face. We weren't the first, and if we didn't act fast, we wouldn't be the last. Day 6. The escape. We played it cool. We smiled when he spoke, nodded at his excuses, pretended we believed him when he said, "This isn't what it looks like." We let him hold on to the illusion that he still had control, that his world wasn't crumbling beneath him. But beneath the surface, we were calculating. That night, when he thought we were broken, when he thought we were grieving the love we had lost, we met in secret. 3 women, 3 lives stolen, rewritten by a man who had turned love into a game of manipulation and deception. We sat in a dimly lit diner, hands gripping coffee cups, voices hushed but urgent. "He's dangerous," the first wife whispered. "He's a liar," the second, me, muttered. "He's a monster," the third one said, her fingers trembling as she wiped away tears. We weren't just victims. We were survivors. And we had a choice. We could run, disappear into the night and pretend this never happened, try to rebuild the lives he had shattered. Or we could make sure he never did this again. It wasn't a question. We all knew the answer. So we made a plan. A real one. One that accounted for every possible move he could make. One that ensured he would never be able to hurt another woman again. We spent hours going over the details, mapping it out carefully, making sure nothing could go wrong. Because if it did, if we slipped, even for a second, he would know. And we knew what happened to the women who had found out the truth before us. By the time dawn approached, we were ready. And when he came home that night, smiling, unsuspecting, slipping through the front door like he always did, ready to live yet another life, we were waiting. And he would never walk out that door again. Moral of the story: some secrets can't be forgiven. Some betrayals don't deserve a second chance. And sometimes, when the truth is a monster, you have to become one to survive.